friends, this is Mrs. Wolfe from our Half Acre Homestead. Today is, I believe it's November 4th. It's Saturday anyway, and we are going to make fruitcake. Now normally this recipe calls for fancier ingredients than I'm giving it, but given the current economic situation, I'm doing this on a budget this year. And I'm not making near as many as I normally would. So instead of big beautiful Thompson raisins and yellow sultana raisins, I have plain raisins. So the ingredients are 3 3/4 cups flour, 2 cups of mixed peel, 2 cups of raisins and 1 cup of currants, a 1/2 cup each of red cherries, green cherries, and a 1.5 cups of dehydrated apricots. Now what I've done to the apricots is I have soaked them in boiling water and then I just cut them up with scissors. I have a packet of walnuts, 2 packets of slimmered almonds. Normally this would be pecans, but pecans, but they're really expensive this year. Like a little packet of pecans like this would be $4.99 here in Canada. And I'm sorry, I'll slip and call them pecans, and I know a pecan is something you put under your bed, but that's just me. I'm Canadian. Can't help it. We also have 9 fresh eggs, and these are almost as fresh as you can get, being as they were laid yesterday by my hands, and 2 cups of honey, 1 pound of butter. In here I have 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a dash of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon nutmeg, a 1/2 teaspoon of ground clove, a 1/2 teaspoon of ground allspice, and that is our spices. So first off, we're going to take our pound of butter. Now no, this is not goat butter, but my goat isn't giving as much milk now, and so I don't have enough to separate, so we just drink what she gives us. We're going to put that right in. Whoops, got a little bit on there. We're going to put that right in the mixer. We're going to scrape this. Now don't worry if you don't get all the butter off your paper, because I'm just going to use this to grease my pans anyway. And we're going to set this on low. Now this is very similar to my pound cake. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one really important ingredient. Rum extract. I don't use alcohol in my fruitcakes. I am allergic to alcohol. It makes me pregnant and dance naked in the rain. So I stay away from that at all possible. So what we're going to do is, now that we got our butter creaming, we're going to add our 2 cups of honey. It would have been nice to have our own goat's milk butter along with our homestead honey and our homestead eggs, but you know what? You cut your coat to fit the cloth, don't you? All right. I'm going to turn this up a little bit, and I'm going to start cracking in the eggs. Now when I was a little girl, this was a big production in our house. I mean, when I lived on a street where there were 4 houses of family. So, I mean, when it came time to making Christmas cakes and Christmas baking, our house was baking central. So, I mean, it was not uncommon to see you know, 3 or 4 of us kids in the kitchen helping, and cousins from down the street coming in and helping. And I'm telling you, my mother made the fruitcakes for everybody. That's 8. And we all, I mean, when I say I cut up those apricots with scissors, I did that when I was a little girl. That was one of the first jobs I had, was to cut up the apricots with scissors, because that was the one sharp object I was allowed to use as a little girl when it came to working on the Christmas cake. There we go. Now that's nice and creamed. I'm going to put in the flavoring. Yes, folks, I'm actually using a measuring spoon. Now like I said, I don't use alcohol, but fruitcake isn't fruitcake without some kind of flavoring. And if my cousin Diane was here, she'd probably put in a pint of rum, because she was famous for rum butter cake. That's about 3 tablespoons of rum extract. And that is going to give this cake the kick it needs to have the flavor. Now, we're going to start adding our flour very slowly. And before we go any further, this is my spices and my baking powder. And I'm just going to knock that in there. There we go. And I'm going to start blending this in, and then it's going to go into a bigger bowl so we can mix the fruit and nuts. And when we get to that point, I'll be back. Okay, there's our batter, and before I go ahead and stir in all my fruit and nuts, I want to show you these pans. Now, I told you I don't make a lot, but these are all pretty much gifts for Christmas for family and friends. And I got these 3 for $1 at the dollar store, and they come with these wonderful little clear lids. But these I couldn't resist. Now these, yes, they were, you know, from the dollar store, but they're like a little bundt pan. And I have an idea that once they come out, I'll be able to decorate those with some cherries, and they'll just look wonderful. Anyway, on to the rest of our cake. I am going to now there's a tradition about this. And my son is supposed to be up here to help, because anybody in the house at the time of the making of the cakes is supposed to help stir. Now I'm just going to get my raisins in here and my currants. And you always, always, always stir clockwise. I don't know why. I just know that that's the instructions. This recipe is similar to the one that my mother used to make, except I do things a little bit differently. Okay, sorry about that. My son's up here now, and he's always stir clockwise. Thank you, son. Anybody who's in the house at the time of Christmas cakes has to stir. Thank you. Thank you. Because otherwise the cake will be unhappy and fail. So my husband is not here, and neither is my older son, so Briar and I do that ourselves here. And here comes our candied peel. Now, I looked at the ingredients, and there is orange peel in. Oh, that smells good. There is orange peel in here, and there is lemon peel in here. But you know what the main ingredient is for this candied peel? Rutabagas. I'm not kidding you. Rutabagas. Now I'm going to put in the nuts, some slivered almonds. This works out to about 3 cups. Now my oven is preheating at 250 degrees because, remember folks, I made this with honey. And as a matter of fact, this recipe, or my mother's recipe, is the reason I knew you could make cakes with honey. But remember, honey cooks at a lower temperature than sugar does. So we are going to cook them at 250 degrees, probably for about an hour. Now when my mother made fruitcake, it was a laborious process, folks. She used cake pans, like regular everyday cake pans. And because she made big fruitcakes, they all had to be lined with brown paper. Now today you'd use parchment, but the brown paper had to be cut to fit the pan, and then the brown paper had to be buttered, and then the pans had to be lined, and you had to have a big pan of water in the bottom of the oven because big cakes took longer to cook, and you had to cook them in a slow oven. So in order for them not to dry out, you had to put water in the bottom of the oven. It was just, I tell you. So, but I've been doing it this way now for quite a few years, and this works really well for me. And in goes the apricots, the cherries. Now look at those colors. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? And really, it's more fruit and nuts than it is cake. You have just enough batter, and I mean just enough batter, to hold all this fruit together. Alrighty, I will be back when it's in the pans and ready to go in the oven. Here we go, folks. More by luck than good management, all that batter actually fit in every single pan that I bought yesterday. And I can't wait for these little personal size ones to come out, because what I do when my cakes are hot, I glaze them with honey and then sometimes decorate them with nuts and cherries. So let's get these in the oven at 250 degrees, and I will set my new digital timer for an hour. Well, let's start off with 45 minutes because these pans are small, and we'll see how it goes. There they are, folks. Aren't they beautiful? We're going to let them cool down a little bit. They only took 45 minutes, 50 minutes in a 250 degree oven, and they have just been cooked to a turn. Now, we're going to let these cool down just a little bit so I can pop these ones out of their molds. And then we're going to glaze with honey and decorate. We'll be back soon. Now, as you can see, folks, these little cakes just popped right out. I probably should have filled them a little bit less so they would sit flatter, but I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of press them down a little bit. Now all I use for my cakes for decoration is honey. I'm just going to brush. I like to do it while the cakes are still warm, and that way it kind of soaks in and gives a really nice glaze. Now we'll be back when I have these all glazed, and I'll show you how I'm going to decorate them. Okay folks, as you can see, I've just put in the center of each fruit cake, of the long ones, a half a cherry, and then I've gone and quartered some green cherries, and I'm just going to make little leaves for my little berry here in the center. I love scissors, man. Never underestimate the power of a clean pair of scissors in your kitchen. Always have kitchen scissors. There's those, and in my little cakes I have put a cherry in the center, and I'm just surrounding it with bits of green, just a little more festive decoration. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drizzle a little bit more honey on these cakes. I know it's a lot of honey, but I make up for the lack of booze with honey. Now I'm going to drizzle just a little more honey on my cakes here. Now I gave them a coat first of glaze, of honey, and now I'm just going to do this so that these will all kind of be glued into place. And then while that honey is, now I like to do this while the cakes are warm because the honey kind of drizzles, and isn't that just absolutely beautiful, folks? Now you can do this when your cakes are cold. All you have to do is heat up the honey, and we're going to do a couple of these little round ones. Now I ended up cheating while I was off camera, and all I did was drizzle these with honey and then take a brush and brush it down. So, but I mean, hey, whatever works. Here we go. A little bit of slivered almonds, and I'll show you when these are done. They're almost ready for packaging. Now aren't they lovely? I defy anyone, almost anyone, who doesn't like fruitcake to try one of these and tell me once again you don't like fruitcake. Because I don't like fruitcake, but I eat these. You caught me. Anyway, when they've cooled down, we'll package them up, and I'll show you how pretty they look as gifts. Okay folks, our cakes have cooled down enough that I can show you. I'm just going to wipe, make sure there's no honey on the bottom, how nicely these become a gift. And we take a piece of ribbon, if I can find the end. There we go. Bob's your uncle. You have a lovely Christmas gift. Now, next weekend, my husband and I are going to do the 4-hour drive down to visit some family in Ontario. And of course, we're going to be doing what we call the fruitcake run. Now, these bags are just wonderful. They're actually quite big. And again, we're just going to take a piece of ribbon. I got these bags last year at the dollar store. So, here we go. They are truly the gift from the heart, because when you make them, you think of the people that you're making them for. Now, isn't that just as cute as a fruitcake button can get? And you can just put a tag on there with whoever's name on it. Everybody gets a fruitcake. Everybody likes fruitcake. At least most people in my family like fruitcake, except for my husband and my younger son. So anyway, this is Bev from our half-acre homestead, or the Mrs. Wolfie from our half-acre homestead, saying, homemade gifts are the gifts from the heart. Can you tell Christmas is coming?